the Planning Applications Board for Tuesday, the February 2023. Can I remind you that the meeting is being live streamed and recorded? The recording will be made available on the Collier's website following the meeting. Moving on to today's agenda, item number 1. That's the minute of the meeting of the 6th of December last year, and that's for your approval. Happy with that? Yep. Thank you. Item number 2, declaration of interest. Members are asked to declare any interest they may have in any items of the agenda. It would be helpful if members explained why they are declaring an interest in the item concerned. Any amendment to the determination of an application moved by a member, which is contrary to the recommendations in a planning report, must be based only on planning reasons. The Chair will invite the member moving an amendment to clearly articulate his or her amendment and the planning reasons upon which it is based. The Chair may, at his discretion, continue the business of the meeting in accordance with a timeout protocol. A copy of the timeout protocol has been made available to all members via the Planning Application Board's folder on SharePoint. The Planning Manager for the Development Department team will present the recommendation of officers. In the event of a member seeking to move an amendment, the Chair may call upon the legal advisor or the planning advisor to provide advice to the board. And with that, I'd like to move on to item number 3 on today's agenda. This is a planning application to erect 2 polycarbonate tunnels for the purpose of community horticulture at McLennan Place, Stornoway, Isle of Lewis. This planning application has received more than 6 representations and is therefore referred to the board for a decision. And can I invite Morag Ferguson to speak to this report? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, members. There's a planning application to erect 2 polycarbonate tunnels for the purposes of community horticulture to be accessed from McLennan Place, Stornoway, Isle of Lewis. Site's located within a residential area in Stornoway. It's quite close to Stornoway Primary and the Co-op Superstore. It's effectively an area of backland at the rear of the gardens of Westview Terrace and the houses at Kennedy Terrace. These are 2 parallel streets, and pedestrian access to the site is likely to be from McLennan Place. Houses and the flats bound the site to the north and the south. There's further open ground to the east, and there are a series of garage lockups to the west. The site's located within the main settlement of Stornoway, as defined by the local development plan, and it's also within what's termed the core area of Stornoway. Just for members who may be less familiar in the area, the site's outlined in red there. Just to the left of the red area, you'll see the white building with a white roof there. That's the Co-op. And the building to the right, large, is the Stornoway Primary School. And you can see the Nicholson and the sports field just at the bottom there. So this is just like a zoomed in aerial. And you can see it's this kind of area of land that's kind of backland behind Westview Terrace, which is the parallel street that's on the left, runs parallel to Kennedy Terrace to the south. The access would be taken from Jameson Drive, which is the terraced houses that you can see just at the top there. And you can see Stornoway Primary, Jameson Drive at the top there. The site itself is about 600 square metres in area, as identified on the application. The nearest residential properties are the flats on Westview Terrace and the houses on Kennedy Terrace. The site has an uneven topography, fairly level grass area at the top, with then like a step and a drop to the northwestern boundary where there are various areas of concrete bases and some broken concrete which were formerly shed bases, and also some scrub trees. Proposal, as said, is to erect 2 polytunnels. two different sizes. One's 24 square meters, one 48 square meters in area. They're about 2.6 meters to the highest point. So just taking you to the application drawing. So to the left of the site there outlined in red, and the two proposed polytunnels, one being 4 meters by 12 meters and the other 4 meter by 6 meter, a shorter one. They're sitting effectively behind the flats on Westview Terrace, and you can see the garages that are running away there. You can see the one, you'll see in the photograph shortly, the ones that are sitting at an angle. So the polytunnels are just beyond where the garages that are sitting at an angle. So that's just like a slightly more detailed plan, again showing the area that's been identified, and that's kind of on two different levels. Polytunnels themselves, fairly standard, 2.6 meter hoop, polythene hoops covered in polycarbonate sheeting. The same for the other one, which is slightly longer. So these views are taken from McLennan Place, looking up towards the site. So you can see the garage, the grey garage that's at the top here. That's one of the closest ones. And the polytunnels would basically be on the lower ground here. So just at the far end, below the garage, and also on this concrete, one of these concrete bases. So there's 3 of these concrete bases running along that area. So it's just another view, and that's, you can see like the flats at Westview Terrace there. And then this shot is really just showing the various concrete bases. There are 3 of them along the bottom there. Some scrub trees, and you can see the change in level. So there would be either a need to either excavate or build up for the longer polytunnel, which is the one that would be sited closest to that garage at the end. So key planning issues. The area of land is has no defined use. It's been used informally over the years. It's backland to 2 streets of housing, and it wasn't identified as functional open space by the open space audit that was carried out for the current development plan. However, where the land to be open space, the proposed use of polytunnels would fall within the nature of a development that would be supported within an open space. And that's strengthened by the recent policy in NPF 4. The application has been the subject of numerous objections from neighbouring and nearby residents who are concerned about losing the area of land as an informal area for play. I would highlight that a further representation was received earlier today, and that's been added to the documents that have been circulated to you. The objection doesn't raise new issues beyond those which have already been considered in the report. It is the case that a range of different uses could be considered acceptable in this area. You know, polytunnels, play space used for a walking route. People walk their dogs there. But the remit of the planning authority in this case is to determine the planning application that's been submitted to it. I would just remind members of the board that the legal right to actually enter the land and carry out the development, or grant the right to use it informally, are matters for the landowner. Planning is really looking at whether the use that is proposed is acceptable in terms of planning policy and other material considerations. So if I could take members to the report. So the report sets out for you in section 5 the site context and details of the proposal itself. Section 6.1 sets out the legislative context to the determination of the planning application and confirms that the planning application must be determined in accordance with the development plan unless material considerations indicate otherwise. And the report sets out that assessment for members' consideration. Section 7 confirms that there is no planning history relating to the site. Consultation advice is summarised in paragraph 8. Section 9 of the report covers the public participation. So the application was advertised for public comment in the public notices section of the Stornoway Gazette, and the notifiable neighbours, i.e. those which are share a boundary within 20 metres of the land, were sent a notice on the 9th of December 2022. Some representations raised concern that some people in McLennan Place were not notified, but they were out with the notifiable, the statutory requirement for notification. 8 representations were initially received, and these are included in an appendix to your report. And as I stated, a further representation was submitted today. And the representations raised similar issues, and these have been set out at section 9.5 of the report in summary. So primarily the concern is to do with the area being having historically been used as informal play space, feeling that polycut tunnels would restrict any future use for that purpose, that the ground would open space as it is, that it's lost to the residents of the immediately surrounding streets. Concerned that there should be like a whole, that there should be a plan for the whole area, and then a list of other concerns to do with road safety, surface water, lighting, risk of antisocial behaviour, concerns over water supply, waste and recycling, and suggestions of alternative sites. So these concerns have all been considered, and the application has been assessed in terms of both our own development plan and National Planning Framework 4, which came into force as of yesterday. Following that assessment and having considered all material considerations, the representations are responded to in detail in section 11.18 to 11.38, and a recent conclusion is set out in section 12 of the report. The recommendation is that the planning application be approved subject to the conditions that have been set out in Appendix 1 to the report. I'm happy to take any questions, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Morag, for that very thorough and detailed report. I'd now like to open this out to members of the board for any questions or comments. Councillor Macaulay.
Thanks, Chair. Thank you very much, Morag. That was, as Chair said, a very comprehensive roundup. I'm not sure my first question is relevant or not. Probably not, so I don't know if you can answer it. Is this a commercial venture or a private venture? Or is it relevant?
Keep your mic on, Morag, please. Sorry.
The planning application has been submitted by the Community Council on behalf of a residents' association, and the application itself was identified as being tunnels for the purposes of community horticulture. So all the indications are that it is a community use. Now, many community horticulture sites do grow and sell, but grow, that's a secondary activity to their primary activity of growing for themselves.
Thank you. In that case, it would seem to me like a lot of the community are not involved with the community association. Seems to be of the very strong opinion that this piece of land has a use already. this isn't a question, it's just a statement. But they seem to have a very strong opinion. This bit of land is a bit of use and a very well used bit of land as for playing football and a safe place for children to play. So maybe it is a question. So yeah, I know you've touched on it already, but that's obviously not relevant. The fact it's been used for that already.
Morag?
Yeah, I mean, the land doesn't have like a planning use at the moment. It's just like vacant ground, if you like. And, you know, it's clear from the representations that it has been used for play informally. And where an application to have come forward for play, that would be the application that the board would require to consider. But the application that has come forward is for polytunnels, and therefore that's what requires to be assessed. So we're not saying that it wouldn't be suitable for another use. We're just saying that the planning application that's before us has been assessed, and in terms of planning policy, is assessed to be a suitable use on that area of land. So it's not really for the planning board to mediate on who gets access to the land. It's really to consider whether the use that's before us is acceptable in planning policy terms.
Happy with that, Ian? Thank you. Councillor Stewart.
Thank you, Chair. Although I have sympathy with the objectors, you know, regarding the children playing there, the area that the polytunnels take up is barely a sixth in the sixth of the square meterage area of the whole site. Although that will expand, of course, with walkways and that. Will that area be fenced off round these polytunnels? And another thing is, I think I didn't quite catch whether you said there's going to be no more excavation, or is there part of that going to have to be excavated from the lower bit and the higher bit?
Yeah, so they haven't intimated any intention to fence it. So that hasn't been submitted as part of the application. And because there is a change in level, there is a need to either fill up or cut down, or a bit of both, to get a level platform, particularly for the longer polytunnel. And that has been covered by a condition that is provided on the Appendix 1, the schedule of conditions.
It's just on the layout that I'm seeing here, you know, it kind of takes up, I know there's only two, like I said, there's only two there and it's only 72 square meters, but it kind of takes up half that whole area. If it were kind of compacted a bit closer together, I don't know, it might not be so that bad. But
Morag?
I think we've got to assess it based on the boundary that they've shown us. So while the polytunnels themselves are the development, the use of the ground would also be related to the polytunnels, because that's what they've identified within the red line boundary.
Happy with that, Finlay? Thank you. Any other comments or questions from members of the board? The recommendation before you at paragraph 3.1 is that planning be approved. Are we content with that recommendation? Yep. We have one member online, Councillor Mackenzie. Are you
Yes.
content with that?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. That is therefore the finding of the board today. And I thank you all for your attendance and look forward to seeing you all at the next meeting of the Planning Applications Board. Thank you.